Today we are moving on to the next prehistoric era, early Iron Age, or we call it as protohistoric Iron Age. Now here you can see that I have prepared the note protohistoric era, the end of the prehistoric era, and here you can see beginning of the early historic era. Here I underline the end and the beginning. In between the end of the prehistoric era and the beginning of the early historic era, protohistoric era prevailed. We call this period as transition era. What was the name? We call it as this period transition era, protohistoric era or else transition era, right? Now tell me why what do you think? Why this period called Iron Age? Because the people of the protohistoric era found iron, right? They use metals, they use metal tools. So that is why we understand this era as Iron Age, right? Now we are going to discuss the key features of the protohistoric era. Now, as we learned earlier, the same features, technology, right? And here you can see lifestyle, rituals, right? Now we are going to learn protohistoric eras, technology, lifestyles, and the rituals. These are the key features of protohistoric era. Now, technology. Under the technology, using metals, making printed clay pots, and building houses. They used metals, right? Transformation of metal technology. I earlier told you this period we call it as transition era because people transferred to stone tools, transferred from stone tools to metal tools, right? They used metals, right? And then making painted clay pots. Earlier they did not use any pots to cook, right? But here in this stage, along with the time, they used pots, clay pots. But it was printed and it was burned, right? Burned pots. Building houses. Earlier they did not have any houses. They lived in caves and they walked here and there, they roaming here and there. Sometimes they rest under the trees. No proper places to live. But here in this period, in this transition era, they build houses, right? But those houses were wattle and daubs houses, but they built houses. The housing or structure of building houses they have used as a practice of this era, right? Okay. Then lifestyle. The first one under lifestyle, living permanent houses and agricultural lifestyle. Living permanent houses. And they have built houses and house walls were made of wattle and daub and roof thatched with leaves. And again the foundation, some of them houses foundations square shapes and some of them were round circle shapes. And agricultural lifestyle. What do you mean by this? Agricultural lifestyle. They have practiced along with the time after the Stone Age. When they entered to the protohistoric era, when they entered to the Iron Age, they have practiced agricultural lifestyle. They started planting vegetations. They started planting whatever they want to eat, right? So that is how they started agricultural lifestyle, and they had to settle one place. That is why they needed proper house, because they can't go here and there. When they started living with agricultural lifestyle, you must stay in that place. So that is why they started building houses, right? Then again, rituals, methodical burial system. What do you mean by that? Earlier also they have practiced some kind of rituals for dead bodies, afterlife, but here the rituals a little bit methodical. They have practiced methodical system. Little improvement can be seen here in this stage. They made clay boats, right, or clay tubs, big ones, and they put them into the dead bodies inside the clay boat and burn it, right? After burn the skeleton, and they collected the remainings and then put them into another pot. It was called as clay urns, and after that they put them again, the clay urns, into the clay boat, right, and keep them somewhere, right? That is what they did. It's a kind of a ritual performed by the ancient people of the Sri Lanka in the proto-historic era, right? And here, now remember children, we all know about the King Vijaya's period of Sri Lanka and King Vijaya's arrival of Sri Lanka. Now this period belonged to the proto-historic era. Please remember that. Not the early historic era, not the prehistoric era, but the proto-historic era, King Vijaya's arrival was happened, right? And the origin of the proto-historic era, how it was originated, the proto-historic era, it was not happened just a minute, right? It took time to happen, all these changes. Now what do you think, according to what it was happened? Now not in Sri Lanka, all over the world, there was a time period happened or influenced by climatic changes, right? Now here in Sri Lanka also influenced by climatic changes. Now the period called Holocene era. Holocene era is between 7000 to 4500 BC. This was the time period of Holocene era. Now again, Holocene era, we call it as again an ice age, right? Now the icebergs were melted with the temperature, and it was created for the agricultural environment. And people start actively working on the field because there was no cool environment. There was a proper environment for them to do agricultural activities, right? And evidences of proto-historic era. Now earlier we found a lot of evidences about the prehistoric era, as well as we archaeologists found evidences about the proto-historic era in several places in Sri Lanka, right? And how they found from megalithic burials. Megalithic burials can be divided into two categories: cyst burials and urn burials. Here you can see the cyst burials and urn burials. Actually, some urn burials were found in earlier than the cyst burials, and some were found in the same period. Right now, examples for the cyst burials and examples for the urn burials I will show you in your textbook. Right here, look at your textbook. Look at the page number 20. Very clearly they have given, right? Ibban Katuwa burial ground, and here Galsahon Kanatta burial ground, and Yatigal Potta burial ground. Now these three are coming under the cyst burial grounds. Right, now what do you mean by cyst burial, and what do you mean by urn burials? Now here, look at the book. I have highlighted here very clearly the burials which were made out of stone splinters in the shape of squares were covered with huge stone slabs. Some pots containing human remains had been deposited inside these burials. These are called cyst burials. Now you can see again, I'll take the Sinhala medium history textbook, here you can see very clearly one of the cyst burial ground. Here under the picture they have mentioned Ibang Katua's burial ground. Right, they have found this cyst burial from Ibang Katua. Right, this is Ibang Katua cyst burial. Now here see the big pieces of stones they have attached, they kept along, and then they have made a square shape and put the pots inside the burial, and then inside the pots the remainings, the skeletons remainings, put them into these pots, and again they kept them pots inside the cyst burial. Now this is the shape of the cyst burial, right? Right. And again, what do you mean by urn burials? Now here urn burials. Urn burials are, they made clay boats, right, or clay tubs, big ones, and again they put the dead body into the clay tub and burn it, and after some more time they collected the remainings and again put them into the pots, clay urns, right, clay urns, and again put the clay urns inside the clay tubs. Now these are the urn burials. Two urn burials we have found in Sri Lanka. The archaeologists found in Sri Lanka in two places, Bedagala and Haldummula. Now we can see the Bedagala. I will show you the Bedagala, the places, Bedagala and Haldummula. Now here look at the book. Here Haldummula and Bedagala. These two places belong to the Ua province. Right, Haldummula and Bedagala. Now these two places, from these two places, archaeologists found urn burials ground. Right. Now I would like to talk about the datings about the burial grounds, each and every burial grounds here. Please highlight this. This is very important. Maybe come to your MCQ questions. Part 1. Right, Bedagala burial ground. What is the age of Bedagala burial ground? And the prevailed in 2400 BC. And Haldummula burial ground 1750 BC. And Rancha Madama burial ground 1350 BC. Udarancha Madama residential place 1129 BC. Now this is very important. The assured dates so far these places, right? The Bedagala burial ground, Haldummula, these two are coming under the urn burials, and the Ranchamadam burial and Udaranchamadam residential place again coming under the cyst burials. Now it's very important for y'all to remember these burials with these years, right? Okay. Right, now again we are coming to discuss about the nature of the settlements. Earlier I described about this. The hunting livelihood changed into permanent settlements, because earlier the Stone Age people, how they lived, how they supply their food by roaming here and there with hunting, right? They were hunter-gatherers. But here in this stage, gradually they change into permanent settlements. That means they used to practice agriculture, and then with the agricultural practices they wanted to permanent settlements, permanent houses. The evidences of houses in Sri Lanka, archaeologists, they have found one of the evidences in Udarancha Madama. Right, Udarancha Madama, it is situated in Ratnapura district, Kolambage Ara city, the village near the Kolambage Ara. Now they have found an old house made of here wattle and daub was discovered in excavations in the village called Udarancha Madama. And roof was iluk. I told you, a roof thatched with iluk. The size of the house 10.20 meters and 6.8 meters square shape or rectangular shape foundation with the rectangular shape foundation, very small, right? Okay. Right, now what about their lifestyle? Protohistoric people's lifestyle, we do not to understand their lifestyle, we do not have much evidences, but here from Udaranchamadam house we have found some evidences about their lifestyle. Here the first one I have mentioned here, your easy reference. There can be seen partitions inside the house. Now when you when you go there and search, you can see the partition house. It was a partition house. Veranda is separately and rooms, kitchen was separately. Now the second one, a number of potsherds were discovered inside the house. That means the particles of the pots they found, and they have used printed pots. Now by looking at particles, archaeologists found that the pots were printed, the red colors, red lines, and symmetrically being painted by using a potter's wheel. Now these evidences reveals that early these people, protohistoric people, they have used potter's wheel. Now otherwise they could not do this. Now all those lines were being painted symmetrically, right? There were stone tools and iron tools in the kitchen of the excavated house. Now in this stage they did not fully abandon stone tools. They used stone tools as well as metal tools. Mostly they have used metal tools, but they did not abandon the stone tools. Stone tools also they have used, right? And the fourth one here, even though they got used to an agricultural lifestyle, they did not completely abandon hunting, because the bones of the animals were, here you have to write WERE, were found in the house. For example, deer, cattle, wild boar, giant squirrel, right? Now these animals' bones they have found in this house. Then that means with the agriculture, they did not abandon the hunting life, right? And the next one, there were a few clay beads, an iron stick used to apply kohl on ladies' eyes, 2 brown stones used to color the body, and 2 grinding stones to rub on the brown stones, right? These evidences show that the women who lived during that period were interested in beautifying their body. Now those people, in this stage, unlike the Stone Age people, the ladies of this protohistoric stage, they interested in beautifying their body, right? They interested beauty culture. That is why they used simple things to beautify their body. And here they have found some evidences about that, right? Now technology, right? Stone tools turn into metal tools, and pottery technology they have used. This is about the technology we have earlier discussed, right? Now we are moving on to the early historic era. Now already we have finished discussing prehistoric era and the protohistoric era. Now we only have to discuss early historic era. Now remember, we have historical sources about the early historic era. Now I told you, prehistoric era we did not find any source of prehistoric era or protohistoric era, but from the early historic era, the historic people, they have written books about the early historic era, right? Now we have found a lot of sources about from the early historic era, right? Now early historic era prevailed from 450 BC to 300 AD, right? Now 450 BC to 300 AD, this period called early historic era, right? Now under that, the expansion of the small village towns is the main index that shows in which areas the settlements in this country expanded during this period. The expansion of the small village towns, right, is the main index that shows in which areas the settlements in this country expanded during this period. Now, what happened? What is the major change that can be seen in this era or during this period, early historic era? People build tanks, right? People build village tanks, the small tanks, and around the tanks or either sides of the tanks, people made their houses. People settled there. Now, this is what happened during the period of early historic era. This is the major change happened, right? This is the major change happened during this period. The factors that influence the expansion of settlements. Now, what are the factors? What do you think the influence by the expansion of the settlements? Now here, page number 24. Here you can see in your textbook, page number 24, factors that influence the expansion of settlements. Now, what are the factors? First one, the rate of annual rainfall. Next one, nature of the soil, geodiversity, expansion of natural resources, and the drainage, etc. are prominent within this factor, right? Now, annual rainfall, they look at the annual rainfall because the distribution of the rainfalls of the country, and then only they settle the particular places. And the nature of the soil, because why are they looking at the annual rainfalls? Because they wanted rainfalls to do their agricultural activities, right? And nature of the soil, that is also the same. Why they wanted to see the nature of the soil, good or bad, to do their agricultural activities. And geodiversity, again the same thing. Expansion of the natural resources, especially water they need for their agricultural practices. And the drainage also very much needed for their agricultural practices, right? These are the factors that influence the expansion of their settlements, right? Now, the measurements of the rainfalls, annual rainfalls of the year, when we consider the measurements, the annual rainfall between 1000 to 1250 milliliter is called dry zone, right? And less than 1000 milliliter is called arid zone. Now, the people most distributed in the country in the dry zone as well as the arid zone. Now, these two zones, why they selected these two zones? Because not getting annual rainfalls properly throughout the year, entire year, though they did not get the sufficient or enough water throughout the year, they settled, their settlements expanded in the dry zone because of the fertile soil, right? Red brown soil, which spread mostly in the dry zone. You can see when you look at the dry zone soil, it was very fertilized for the agriculture, very suitable for agriculture. So that is why they spread the early people, they spread dry zone and the arid zone. And they collected the water from the monsoons. Two monsoons they got, and actually northeast monsoon and the southwest monsoons. they got the rainwater from these two monsoons. Right. Again, the other method of getting the water from the tanks, they constructed tanks to collect the rainwater, and it was easy for them to gather the water or collect the water rather than using river water because they cannot get the river water directly to their living places, so they must collect the water by constructing aqueducts across the river, and through the canals they had to carry the water to necessary places. So it was very difficult for them to collect the water because it needed technology as well as the labors and the time. So it was difficult to get the river water, so it's easy for them to get the tank water by constructing tanks. Right. Now here, look at this highlighted paragraph, page number 25. Now here mentioned the historical period in this country expanded not in the river valleys but in the outside areas of Delhi. The main reason this was that there was not a suitable technology to control the catastrophic annual flood from the rivers. It must be at the end of the 1st century BC or during the 1st century AD when they started controlling floods by constructing aqueducts across the rivers and taking water to tanks. Now remember, these people, the protohistoric people, they did not settle directly on the river banks because of the flood. That was a big problem for them, big issue for them to control the floods during the year, throughout the year. Now, as a solution, they settled away from the river, the little away outside of the river. Right. Now, after finding the system of the controlling floods with the technology, they constructed aqueducts and across the river and taking the water to tanks. Then they settled on the river banks. Now, for example, earlier at the beginning they did not settle on the river banks. On the river banks, either sides of the river, they settle outside of the river and they move on to the river banks after finding the technology to control the floods. Right, the preparing aqueducts and the making canals and getting the water to tanks. Right. Now we talk about the structure and the nature of the settlements. Right, the nature of the settlements. Now, when we look at the nature of the settlements, all the villages constructed those period called the Vapi Gama. Why? Because they built the village, a constructed village near the tank, right? So that is why it was called Vapi Gama. Now there are examples here: Sumana Vapi Gama, Vihara Vapi Gama, Hundiri Vapi Gama, right? And again Kadaha Vapi Gama, Vihara Vapi Gama, Hundiri Vapi Gama, Sumana Vapi Gama. Right. Now we can some of the villages around tanks mentioned is Mahavamsa. I told you about the evidences of all the information we can found in the sources about this early historic era. So Mahavamsa mentioned the Vapi Gama has created and lot of villages created according to the constructed tanks. Right. And then one village was separated from the other by a jungle belt. In between two villages there was a jungle, and some villages called called according to the professionals. Now here you can see Kasikara Gama according to the professionals. Now villages where farmers lived, right? Kasikara Gama. And again villages where people worked in gem mines lived, Manikara Gama. And again Gopala Gama villages where cowherds lived, Gopala Gama. And Kevattagama villages where fishermen lived, Kevattagama. And here Kumbhakara Gama villages where potters lived. And villages where carpenters lived, Vattaki Gama, right? Villages where carpenters lived, Vattaki Gama, Kumbhakara Gama, and Kevatta Gama, Gopala Gama, Manikara Gama, Kasikara Gama. Now, according to the professionals, they divided allocated the names for the villages, right? And or settlements. They named settlements according to the types of the professionals, right? Or title of the professionals. Right. Apart from this, there were several villages existed on the basis of tasks. Now here, Pattanagama and the Niyangam. Now, most probably we heard actually the Niyangam in the early historic stories, right? Always we heard this word Niyangam, right? And Olagam, right? Here Pattanagama, villages situated close to harbors. These villages called these according to the basis of tasks, right? Pattanagama means villages situated close to harbors, right? Around the harbors, the villages around the harbors called Pattanagama. And Niyamgam, trading villages, right? Some villages, the people doing tradings, right? Those villages called Niyamgam. And Olagam, the tanks abandoned by the people. Okay. Now here you can see the two maps given, but this is not very clear. It's a little confused. So I'll take the Sinhala again, Sinhala textbook. Now here you can see very clearly here distribution of the tanks, right? You can see with blue color distribution of the tanks, and again with the black dots here you can see inscriptions, right? With the black dots you can see the inscriptions. Now with the inscriptions and the tanks you can identify the expansion of the ancient settlements, right? And then now here look at the other map. Here you can see again the distribution of settlements, the area, southern area near the Kirindi river, right? Now they have given the key here with the black dot. They depicts first stage settlements, and with the medium sized red dots they depicts second stage of the settlements, and the third one, big red dots, depicts third stage of settlements, right? Third stage of settlements. Now here look at this clearly, carefully, right? And you can see black dots, but away from Kirindioya, little away from Kirindioya, outside of the Kirindioya, because I told you at the beginning, the people at the very beginning, they did not exist either sides of the river bank. They always tried to go away from the rivers because of the flood, right? After finding the technology to control the flood, they settled either sides of the river bank. That is why in the third stage with the red dots, big dots, you can see very close to the, they are settlements distributed very close to the river, either sides of the river, right? You can see that. Okay then. Right. Now, I'll take the other one. Now here we have to see the, now we can see the picture of a village, ancient village here. Page number 28, you can see a picture of a village, right? Ancient village. What can you see when you look at, what can you see in the picture? We can see a very simple lifestyle, small houses here and there, very few houses, and trees with the food, and the tank very close by. So, and there's a human being, and he's resting here, and there are some flock of sheep you can see here, and yeah, very simple lifestyle. And we can see they were living with they were living mutually with the nature, right? Mutually with nature, and simple lifestyle very clearly can be seen here. Now, do you have any idea of the size of the village? The small, there were three types of villages: the small scale villages, and medium scale rural settlements, and also large scale urban settlements, right? The small scale village, right? Small villages, normally their size was 0.15 hectares, and the medium size rural settlements nearly about 2 hectares, and large scale urban settlements more than 2 hectares, right? And normally there lived 5 or 6 families in the village, right? Now, literary sources were saying that around 30 families lived in some urban settlements. Normally in a small village 5 or 6 families, but in the urban settlements, it's nearly about 30 families. Now, what are the limitations of the villages? Now, some literary sources reveals that villages were protected by a fence called Parikkitagam, and villages were not protected by a fence called Aparikkitagam. Parikkita and Aparikkita. Remember, Parikkitagam and Aparikkita. There's another type of village called Nagara, right? These Nagaras actually in between urban settlements and the village settlements, rural settlements, in between, intermediate settlements actually. Now, taking the commodities, right? Taking the products from the village, right? For the trading, for trading in big cities was coordinated or handled by these intermediate settlements, Nagara. This is in between rural settlements and the urban settlements, Nagara, right? And family. Now, family was the most important or crucial point of each and every historical eras. At the beginning, from the beginning of the world, family was given most important place, right? Now, each and every village, there were, as I told you, there were nearly about 5-6 families. For each and every families, there was a chief person called chief householder, and he was known as Gahapati, right? Now, according to the village, there was again they introduced a chief person, right? Chief of the village called Gamika, right? Gamika. Now, after some more time, they introduced a panel. Panel has been introduced as Dasagam Attan, which included 10 Gamikas, right? 10 Gamikas or 10 chief of the village, right? 10 chief of the village, right? Now we have come to the end of the lesson. Means of subsistence. Now, what is the main idea? When you read the paragraph, you can get the main idea of is Chaina cultivation. What is their means of subsistence? Chaina cultivation. Right? As I told you, they started agricultural life, right? Their livelihood was changed to agricultural life pattern, right? And then they grow in dry zones such as Kurakan, Meneri, Tanahal, etc. And they used tank water and rainwater also. And this is how they continued their life, right? Now, children, but these people, right, they faced very difficult situation. They had to handle difficult situation. Now here, look at this challenges faced by the early historic people. What are the challenges? Now I have given here 5 types of challenges they faced. The first one, food production according to the increasement of the population. Now this is the time period the people were increased, the population was increased, right? Now day by day, now food production was very limited, right? Now there has a problem, right? To find food, searching food according to the people, according to the increasement of the people, a very difficulty they had to face, right? The second one, collecting and distributing water. Collecting and distributing, because this was a time period the technology was not well developed, right? That was the starting period of the technology. So it was very difficult, the collecting and distributing water for their agricultural practices. To make more food, they need more water, they need more facilities, right? And the flood, as I told you, they could not fully control the flood, because technology was developing at the beginning, at the starting point, right? It was at the starting point, technology development. And the next one, increasement of the population. Again, increasement of the population also was a problem, as I told you in the first one. And water management, again water supplying water, distributing water, it was very difficult, because they could have collected only from rainwater and from the tank, and they need water for drinking and cooking, planting, for everything. So it was very difficult for them to manage all these things because due to the lack of the technology, right? Okay, now I am going to wind up the lesson, children. Now before you leave, please remember to subscribe, like and hit the bell icon. Until we meet again, have a nice day.